Hi, thanks for popping on. If we haven't had the pleasure of meeting live, I'm Tammy, and it is my absolute pleasure to grab a few minutes of your time today. Let's dive in. To understand mind-based functioning, body-based functioning, and soul-based functioning is to understand that it is these three things that make up the sum of our whole being, and that each of these three things has a language that is unique to them. Mind-based functioning, the language of mind-based functioning is through interpretation. And interpretation is where we take what happens in our external facing world, process it through the mind, and attach meaning to it. And usually the meaning that we're attaching to it is good or bad, ugly or beautiful, success or failure, fat or skinny, and none of that is either truthful or supportive. And unfortunately, what's happened is that through our lifetime experiences, we've come to allow the mind-based functioning to dominate, and so we're spending the majority of our time in the language of interpretation, which is neither truthful nor supportive. The language of the body-based functioning is through sensation, and it's here where we learn to attune or bring awareness to the feelings or sensations that rise up through the physical body. So how I best express that to people is, if I asked you to hold an ice cube in your hand, how would you tell me that feels? And most people, the answer, because we're dominated by the mind-based functioning, would be that the ice cube feels cold and wet. And while the ice cube is generally cold and wet, what I want to know is, where is the sensations that are rising up inside of you? Um, where are these sensations being activated? So for example, if I hold an ice cube in my hand, I'll feel like a pins and needles sensation that rises up my arm. I'll feel a little bit of a stabbing sensation up the back of my neck. And I generally will have a little bit of a pinging sensation in my kidneys because I tend to have an inauthentic relationship with anger, and that's where I hold it. The language of soul-based functioning is through surrender. And surrender is where we do get to be excited for the adventures that are about to unfold that we have no control over. It's leaning into things without the need to know what the outcome is before we try it. And again, most of us have eclipsed this part of ourselves. We have this insatiable need to know what the outcome is going to be before we're willing to try something. And so what I do is I ask people to activate that part of themselves intentionally, to set themselves up to experience things that allow them to lean in without knowing what the outcome is going to be. Interestingly enough, it is through soul-based functioning where our intuition is activated. It's here where we deepen connection to God, to a higher power, to source, to the divine, whatever it is that you want to call it. So our connection to those things is merely a symptom of how willing we are to lean into surrender. The more we lean into surrender, the deeper our intuition ability is. The more we lean into surrender, the less our relationship with higher power, source, or God is in and out. And so that's an important part of who we are. And that's mind-based functioning, soul-based functioning, body-based functioning in a nutshell. By all means, if you would like some more information or like to chat, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for spending this time with me.